You're born in Ephesus, a city of white marble and salt air, where the library is the heart of the world. You grow up with ink on your fingers and the smell of dried herbs on your breath. You learn from your father that the human body is a map of balance. You laugh at the theater. You sleep to the sound of the sea. You believe that knowledge is a shield.
By the time you turn 12, you can stitch a torn bird's wing. You help your father mix poultices of honey and willow bark. You steal scrolls from his study and get caught every single time. On most days, your father is a healer. Most of what you know is his legacy. On other days, the world feels heavy as you hear whispers of the Roman eagle flying closer. Your mother tends to the garden. She always tells you that plants are more grateful than men. You agree. Here, life is beautiful, rich, quiet, and safe. You're 17 when Rome finally arrives, not with philosophers, but with steel. The siege ends in a week. Screams jolt you awake. The scent of burning papyrus chokes the air, and the city that used to feel infinite suddenly feels like a cage. Your father tries to protect the library, but Roman gladiuses don't care about wisdom. He is cut down among his books. A soldier grabs you by the hair before you can even scream. A heavy iron collar bites into your neck. Your home vanishes in the smoke. Your life, too. You're herded with the other educated stock, the scribes, the architects, the unlucky ones, and marched toward the sea. Feet bleeding, mind shattered, heart cold. Then, the Mediterranean welcomes you. You're shoved into the hold of a galley with crates of grain and jars of oil. Except you're cataloged as a different kind of tool. By the time the docks of Ostia rise on the horizon, you've learned two things. Begging is useless, and they only value you if you are useful. Once you arrive, the transformation begins. You're inspected like a horse, measured and bought by a Lanista, a man who harvests death for a living. Your life as a scholar doesn't end with a degree, it ends with a price tag. In this house, the first thing they take is your dignity. They call it the Ludus. It is a factory for monsters. Morning begins with the sound of wooden swords hitting flesh. Scented oils aren't for your skin here, they're for the muscles of the men who fight. You are given a stone room, a bucket of vinegar, and a set of rusted needles. Older slaves teach you everything you never wanted to know. How to stop a lung from collapsing. How to cauterize a stump so a man doesn't bleed out before the crowd is finished cheering. How to look into a boy's eyes and tell him he'll live, even as you see his intestines in your hands. They call it medical care. They call it protecting the investment. But everyone knows this is not a hospital. It is a repair shop for human weapons.
You belong to the Lanista, and the men you heal belong to the sand. A year passes. You are the master's favorite mechanic, not respected, just used more often than the others, enough to make the gladiators look at you like a god who can grant them one more day of life. Then the great games arrive. The emperor wants blood. The barley test of your world is the Sanarium, the dark tunnel under the Colosseum. You sit in the shadows while the roar of 50,000 people vibrates in your skull. They bring you a fighter, a boy from Gaul. He has won his match, but his stomach is open. If he dies now, the master loses 10,000 sesterces. If he lives, he fights again. You pour vinegar into the wound. He screams until his voice breaks. You stitch. You pray to gods who stopped listening in Ephesus. The barley sprouts. He survives the night. The house resets. You are given extra bread. The Lanista claps your shoulder, but the boy is sent back to the pits to be broken again. You realize that you haven't saved him. You've just delayed the inevitable. Years pass, and you're 40 now. In this place, that's long enough for your hands to shake and your soul to go numb. You are a ghost who knows exactly how much a human life weighs in gold. One day, the master gives you a wooden tablet. You are free. Not because of kindness, but because you are too slow to stitch the wounds of the young ones. You go to live in a small shack in the slums.
Sometimes you look at your hands. They are scarred, stained, and tired. Did anyone survive Ephesus? Does the sea still smell like salt? You will never know. You wonder if this life was worth the cost, if the hundreds of repairs you made balanced the decades of being a slave to slaughter. There is no answer, only this: your patience will never grow old, and that has to be enough.